Hey everybody, thank you for joining me tonight. Tonight I'm going to be talking to you guys about something called the magic number, and it's a great way to develop number sense and to really help students with math facts and being able to do them quickly and automatically. One of the things I want to talk about today is just in general math facts. I know that when I taught second and third grade, kids really struggled with addition and especially subtraction facts, and even in third grade it was still a concern that some kids really just didn't have that basic number sense. So to them, 4 plus 3 could really be 2. They had no idea why it couldn't. And 8 minus 6 could be 9. Like, they didn't understand why that didn't make sense. So what I want to talk about today is a system that I did not come up with. A friend of mine, Julie, who is wonderful, she is now a math coach, and I really loved everything she taught me, especially when I worked with her for several years. She was great. So, hey, Julie, if you're watching this, she showed me this method, and I believe she said it was from Math Their Way, which is, I think, a kindergarten program, and I have never had access to the program, so I don't know if that's true or not, but I think that's where she said it originally originated from. So this is kind of my take from it and how I've adapted it or not adapted it at all. I think I've adapted it some since I learned it all those years ago. And I'm going to share with you how you guys can use this in your own classroom. As far as what grades this is appropriate for, I would say it's appropriate for first grade for sure, second grade for sure. If you have a very low third grade group, it might very well work for you. I have done it in third grade, and that was a year that I had kids that just didn't have any basic number sense, no internal number line, did not understand how numbers work together. So for them, it worked really well, and it helped develop some of that number sense. So I'm going to show you today about that magic number. Now, if you will go ahead and share with me what your grade is and where you are located, I'd really appreciate it, because it helps for me to be able to see what grades I'm talking to and how this could benefit your grades. If you're a K teacher, you probably could do this at the end of kindergarten. It's something that they should be able to with the writing skills part of it. I don't think they could do it in the beginning, especially independently. So what we're going to talk about is, I'm going to flip to show you guys a couple things. So I got to change my screen real quick, so if you just give me a second to change it. You're going to see on the board down here, and I'm going to switch it one more time. Hold on. That's not the one. I want something different. Well, I could do this one. You're going to see this right here. This is the form that I used for assessing children. I call this the magic number. You might have heard this in kindergarten. They talk about the bear in the cave, and they have bear counters, and they hide them under a bowl, and then the kids have to figure out how many bears are inside the cave and how many based on what they knew about the total and how many bears are outside the cave. So this is kind of a take on that whole bear in a cave. If you've heard of that before, then you're probably familiar with this. To do the assessment, I simply had this sheet right here in my guided math binder, and I put down the side, I put all the kids' names, and at the top, if you can see it, I'm going to pull it real close for you guys. There we go. I just had numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the idea is that kids are creating combinations of these numbers. They're creating combinations of 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so on all the way to 10. You could take it up higher if you wanted to, but I felt like 10 was basically really what we needed to have. And you use some kind of counter, so you can use all kinds of counters. These are simply just erasers or smiley face erasers that you can use. And the way that I would do this with kids is I was trying to figure out their target number. Basically what that means is, where did they start stumbling when I asked them these questions, when they were no longer automatic, and it took them to figure it out. And I'm actually going to switch. I'm going to use beans. I have beans. Beans might be easy to see. So I would take beans, and I would start out at 2 because I was trying to figure out the target number, so I start at the bottom, and I'd say, okay, if I have 2 beans, and I'd put the beans together in my hand, I'd separate them, and I'd show them one hand. And I'd say, okay, if I have 1 bean in this hand, then how many must be in this hand? And they would have to say that there's 1. And they would have to do that as fast as they can. You want it to be automatic, like you would if you did like timed math test. You want it to be fluent and smooth. So you do it again, and you say, okay, how many are in this hand? and say they'd have to know that's had 2. So you keep on going. So then if they were able to answer all those, and most kids are able, hopefully, to do 2, I would move up. And next to their name, right here on the sheet, I would write the date. The date says to me what's the day I assessed them and when they were fluent with it. So I'd move to 3. So I say, okay, count the beans. How many do you see? I'd shake them up, switch them out, and I'd do, all right, if there are 2 beans here, how many beans are in here? And they'd have to tell me. Then I switch it up again and say, okay. If there are 1 bean in this hand, how many must be in this hand? And I keep on going through on the combinations of 3. All right. There are 3 beans here. How many must be in here? If they're fluent, I'd write the date and move on. And then I keep on going until I get to, usually with most kids, about 6 and 7 is where they'd stumble. So that's where I would say, all right, let's count the beans. How many beans do you see? And for a lot of kids, I'd let them go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They'd actually count it. I turn it over and say, all right, let's count. How many do you see? And they would count it. Okay, I see, well, I guess it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means there must be 1 in here. And I do it and so on for combinations. So I guess it's combinations of 7, it's not 6, sorry. Okay, if there's 3 here, how many must be in here? There must be 4. And then we'd open it up and check. And the idea is you're making quickly these combinations of 10. When they have to start doing any kind of mental, like thinking about it, or it is not something that they can do quickly, that is when I say, okay, well, that's your target number. That's your magic number that you're going to be working on. And that's the number that the kids will be practicing making combinations of that number. Now, I've tried to make it so that is something that is fun and that's interesting and it's engaging. So let me show you how I've done that with kids. Now, for each kid, I've done this tons of different ways. And the best way that I found is a pocket folder. In the pocket folder, this is their magic number pocket folder. And in it, they have a card and they have tons of blank forms of these different copies. Now, because you could do it lots of different ways. If you want to just focus on addition facts, you could give them this sheet right here where it already has the addition sign already put into the sheet, and this is be the one that they work on. If you would like it to be more about related facts and realizing that 6 can also be 6 minus 3, or it could be 3 plus 3, if you want to work on that, a different way to do it, and this is the one especially in 2nd grade I recommend, is this sheet right here. I'm going to move it down just a little bit. This sheet right here is the same form, but instead of having the sign, it has a circle, so the kids will put in the sign themselves. So what they're going to have is this is going to be their target card. This is how they're going to keep track of what number they're working on. So let's just say Susie, this is Susie's target card. Her target number that she stumbled on was 7. So I'm going to write 7 in the target area, sorry. I'm going to write 7 in the target area right here. Then, but I'm not done because she doesn't only really need to work on 7. She also needs to review 6 and preview 8 so that she really solidifies that in her head. So at the bottom, I'm going to put 6, 7, and 8. And what this is this is actually really a graph of progress, a graph of how often she is doing them. So the child is then going to keep this in there, pocket folder right here in the front pocket. That way, whenever it's time for them to see, like, it's time to do your magic number, they could just go to the pocket folder. They know what number they're going to work on. It gives them choice because they can work on 6, 7, and 8. So it gives them different choices. I had different boxes, and one great kind of box is just simply this pencil box is a great way to do it because you can store the manipulatives and they stack easily and they're super cheap as far as containers. But for the sake of the video, I did it in these open containers so you can see it. You're going to have a variety of different manipulatives. For example, I have snap cubes, and I have 2 color snap cubes. I have 2-sided beans. You can also use 2-sided counters. I have just erasers from the Dollar Tree. I've got smiley faces and stars. And then here I've taken Mardi Gras beads, and I've cut them into different lengths. So you can say that there's, let's just say, if they were making combinations, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'd be 6 plus no other beads would equal 6. Or you could have them see if they could dig through and find other combinations. So you're going to cut the beads, like here's 2, so they're looking for a length that has 4. So you'd cut the beads into different amounts. So those are just different ideas for manipulatives. You can use tons of others. You can use little bitty cars. You can use little like bear counters, counting bear counters. You could use a little farm animals from the Dollar Tree. Any kind of erasers would be fun. Anything like the little foam tangram pieces would be something that you could use. Anything that you want to use with your kids for manipulatives are easy to do with this activity. Now let me show you what you're going to do. I'm going to take these beans and use the beans as my manipulative just because it's easy. So let's just say, and I'm going to flip to the second grade appropriate page, and I'm pretending I am Susie, and Susie knows that her target number is 7. She could also work on 6, or she can also work on 8. But I'm going to say Susie's going to be working on 7. So she's going to write her magic number right here. And so she's going to do combinations of 7 on this page. So she's going to say, okay, there's a white bean, 2 white beans. Let's see, count. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can make 7 by having 3 red beans. 1, 2, 3. And you can either have them use the same color marker. My kids actually got to the point where they didn't need to match it. They figured it out and they were fine. They just needed any 2 different color markers and they were okay. And then I could have 4 yellow beans. So they're going to fill out, and this is where I started relating it to a 10 frame because I wanted them to be able to see 6 automatically as well, or 7 automatically as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 white beans. Now, if I were to do a math problem, I could say that this is 3 plus 4 equals 7. But they could say, oh, I'm going to write it another way. I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to switch it around. And they're going to show another way that they could write it. And this is what you start doing the commutative property. 2, 3, 4. And they kind of figure it out on their own. 1, 2, 3. And it'd be 4 plus 3 equals 7. So you start having them actually figure it out kind of on their own. And you can say, okay, well, let's see what else. What other combination can I do? Let's flip over and do that. So I've got 2 whites and 5 red. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2 whites. So I would write that as 5 of the red beans plus 2 of the white beans equals 7. And so on until they fill the page. When they fill the page, they could turn to the next one. They could choose a different number on the target card or whatever and work on a different number. Now, after the child is finished doing all of these problems, they filled out all the 10 frames and all the different ways to make 7, they would color in 1 block. 1 block equals 1 page. And that means they have basically practiced making 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a hands-on way. So they have practiced it 7 different times. Now, once the kid has practiced it all the way to the top block, they bring me their target card and they tell me they're ready to be reassessed, and I reassess them on their target number that they've done. When I had it some years, I actually made them fill in all the blocks because they could do 1 or 2 pages and maybe a math block. So it didn't take actually as long as it sounds. Now, this, get cleaned up just a little bit. So let's talk about, get organized again. Let's talk about now with you guys. Let me show you some of the forms for you guys. So when and how did I actually make this work in my own classroom? Now, the way that I made this work in my own classroom, so let's talk about the how. I had the kids, and the kids, do you know, okay, let me back up a little bit. So how did this work in my classroom? When did I assess the kids? Usually the easiest and best time I found to assess kids, because it was so quick, because the idea is that they had it quickly and they were able to do it automatically, was I did it in morning work time. When kids I would just pull them over and say, come here, let's do some of your magic number stuff. And so they would come right over. I'd sit and do a handful of kids. I'd fill out my tracking form, so I'd have it in my guided math binder. If a kid was having difficulty, I often found that kids that had difficulty with this would have generally difficulty in addition and subtraction when we started getting to 2 and 3 digits for obvious reasons, but many of them still have problems with even things like place value. So it was just another way to track information to show how they struggled with number sense. And I kept that in the binder. So I pull them for morning work time, I do a couple kids, I could probably get through the class in 3 to 4 days because it's supposed to be so fast. It's not supposed to be something that takes a long time. That first time will take a little bit longer because you're starting at 2 and building your way up. Then the cards, they kept their target number cards. These were just kept inside of their folder. I kept the math folder with their guided math materials. They had buckets with their groups, and this was in it. And then they had these sheets already hole punched in, and I would have several already in there, so they didn't have to go find the sheets. The sheets were already provided for them, and I would put the sheets in ahead of time. So when do kids do this activity? That's, I know, when, like, a good question. So when they would do this activity, this is where I loved it. This was that filler activity after kids finished their independent work or their center work in guided math. So you know that time, and you're doing rotations and you're pulling groups, and let's just say that group A is with you and group B is working on an independent work and group C is doing a center or games or something like that. Well, let's just say group B, a kid or two, had already finished their independent work. What do? You have to be really careful because you don't want to make it a game, because you don't want to encourage them to rush through work, right? Because we all know if there's something fun and game-like, they'll rush through it too much so that they can get to the good part or work with a partner. So this was engaging enough because they're able to pick their manipulative, but it wasn't so engaging to make them rush because it was still doing the math and doing the work. That this is what they did whenever they finished their math activity. If they finished their independent work, this is what they did. If they finished their math center, this is what they did. If they finished a partner game, they would just play the games again. Partner games we never actually finished because they could play either a new game or they continue playing. But if they finished their independent work, or if they had like a center where it was like an activity, like where you recorded it on paper, like a sword or something, they could go back and finish this activity. So this was easy to manage because it was never ending. It was something that kids were always able to come back to, and they could start and stop it easily. Now, the other beauty of it is because of the manipulatives, you could keep it engaging by having lots of different manipulatives available. You could have several of the pencil boxes because it doesn't break the bank, and it's not something that's going to be so expensive that you can't afford to have like several different boxes of the little farm animals because it's only like $1 a piece, and some of them you can spread over a couple boxes. But you could also, another idea is if you would like to make this something that's seasonal and you want to do like the pumpkin little buckets at Halloween and have them put in little popsicle sticks, that would be a great way to do it. And they can have popsicles inside the pumpkin and outside the pumpkin. That is a simple way to do it. If you want to do spiders, you can have orange spider rings. You could have black spider rings, and they could do the spider rings and do that for their manipulatives. That would be fun for Halloween. You could do snowflakes in January. So you could actually make it all themed to match to whatever time of year. So it'll be fun to do it seasonally. And I see that I'm just looking right now. Apparently Judy has said the same thing. That's funny, Judy. Great minds, right? So you could keep the manipulatives fun and engaging by simply changing out what they are and doing simple dollar activities without breaking the bank. Because the manipulative change, but they would never change how they were doing it on the actual recording sheet, because the recording sheet is just a 10 frame and they would just use a dot or something, a square, a dot or something, and 2 different color markers to fill it in. And you would have all these different opportunities to practice making combinations. And you can also start talking about, as you get a little bit more advanced, start talking about fact families and doing like 10 minus 3 is still 7. So if you really wanted to make it more advanced, you could start working on related facts as well and talking about how they're related facts. That is all for my magic number. If you would like any of the forms that I just shared with you today, I have for you guys, I've got in the link above, it says, magic number freebie above. I've got a copy of the assessment. There is a page of the target cards, and there is also all the 10 frame with the magic number where they record. Look right here, where they're recording their magic number. These are also included in the freebie. So if that is something you would like to do, it's all available for you above. If you also, if you're looking for centers for kids to do, if you look also underneath the list, you'll see that it says sign up today and receive an exclusive freebie delivered right to your inbox. That is signing up for my newsletter. And if you sign up, there's a 70-page freebie with I think 4, I don't even remember how many it is, place value centers, and they are free. All you have to do is give me your email, and I will never sell your email to another third party. None of that happens. I don't give it away. I only send you letters every so often when I'm releasing a new item. If you are looking for more edition materials, I have tons of edition stuff in my store. I just released 2 edition centers, and it has several different centers as well as interactive notebook pages. And I did another pack that has 3-digit edition with also interactive notebook pages. And those are available in my store, and you'll find the link above as well. If you have any questions, I would love to know if there's anything I could do to help you. I hope that this magic number trick helps your kids. It helps them develop number sense, and it helps them relate the facts to building the numbers with the manipulatives. And I hope you have a blessed week, and I hope if there's anything, excuse me, if there's anything you need, please just let me know. You can just leave a comment or email me, and I'll be happy to help you. I hope y'all have a wonderful and long week. Thank you so much.